They told you to be yourself, be available, be generous with your attention. They sold you the lie that being open, predictable, and constantly present would make you irresistible. But look around. The most available people are the most ignored. The most generous with their time are the most taken for granted. The most transparent are the most forgotten. Machiavelli understood what modern culture refuses to admit. Desire is not created by what you give. It is ignited by what you withhold. Obsession does not grow from constant presence. It thrives on strategic absence. The power to become irresistible lies not in revealing everything about yourself, but in becoming a mystery that others desperately want to solve. Today, you will learn 7 tactics that separate those who beg for attention from those who command it without asking. These are not tricks for the weak or games for the desperate. These are strategic principles used by those who understand that true magnetism operates through psychological leverage, not emotional availability. The person who masters these tactics does not chase, they attract. They do not explain themselves, they intrigue. They do not demand attention, they create a vacuum that pulls others toward them with irresistible force. By the end of this, you will understand why scarcity creates desire, why mystery generates obsession, and why the person who needs nothing becomes impossible to ignore. More importantly, you will possess the tools to transform yourself from someone who hopes to be chosen into someone who chooses, someone whose very presence becomes a privilege that others compete to earn. The first principle of irresistible attraction is understanding that your absence is more powerful than your presence. Most people exhaust their appeal by being constantly available, always responding immediately, never creating space for others to wonder or want. Machiavelli observed that men desire what they do not have and despise what they possess in abundance. This applies directly to your attention, your time, your presence. When you are always available, you become predictable. When you become predictable, you become boring. When you become boring, you become invisible. Strategic absence does not mean disappearing randomly or playing games without purpose. It means timing your availability to create maximum psychological impact. You respond to messages, but not immediately, allowing space for anticipation to build. You attend social events, but you leave while the energy is still high, before others tire of your company. You engage in conversations, but you exit before satisfying their curiosity completely, leaving them wanting more. This creates what psychologists call the intermittent reinforcement effect, the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. People become hooked on your attention precisely because they cannot predict when they will receive it. Your unpredictable availability becomes more valuable than someone else's constant presence. Watch how people respond when you implement strategic absence. They check their phones more frequently, wondering when you will respond. They replay your last conversation, analyzing what you meant. They find excuses to contact you, hoping to re-establish connection. Your absence creates a vacuum that their mind desperately wants to fill. But remember, your absence must be backed by substance. If you have nothing interesting to offer when you are present, your absence will simply be irrelevant. The power of strategic absence comes from making people remember why they wanted your attention in the first place. When you do appear, when you do respond, when you do engage, it must be worth the wait. The second tactic involves becoming an unsolvable enigma. The human mind is wired to solve puzzles and understand patterns. When someone cannot categorize you completely, cannot predict your responses, cannot figure out your motivations, you become an obsession rather than just another person in their life. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." Use this insight to your advantage by revealing different aspects of your personality in different contexts, never showing your complete self to anyone. To one person, show your intellectual depth but hide your emotional vulnerability. To another, reveal your ambition but conceal your insecurities. Let each person see fragments of who you are, but never the complete picture. This makes you multidimensional in their minds, someone they feel they almost understand but never quite grasp fully. You become like a complex piece of art that reveals new details each time someone examines it closely. Contradiction is your ally in becoming enigmatic. Be kind, but not predictably so. Show strength, but occasionally reveal moments of uncertainty. Demonstrate confidence while acknowledging that you are still learning. These contradictions make you human and complex, rather than one-dimensional and boring. Change your communication style occasionally. Sometimes be direct and decisive. Other times be mysterious and thoughtful. Sometimes engage deeply in conversations. Other times remain more reserved. This unpredictability keeps others guessing about your mood, your thoughts, your next move. But avoid being inconsistent in your core values or unreliable in your commitments. The goal is to be unpredictable in your presentation while remaining consistent in your character. People should never know exactly how you will respond to a situation, but they should trust that you will handle it with integrity. The third tactic requires mastering selective revelation. Information is power, and how you share information about yourself determines how much psychological leverage you maintain in relationships. Most people reveal too much too quickly, thinking that transparency builds connection. In reality, premature transparency eliminates mystery and reduces your allure. It's like showing all your cards before the game has even begun. You lose your negotiating power immediately. Selective revelation means sharing personal information strategically, in layers, over time. You reveal enough to create intimacy, but never enough to satisfy curiosity completely. Each conversation leaves others wanting to know more about your thoughts, your experiences, your perspective on life. When someone asks about your background, share an intriguing detail, but leave gaps they want to fill. When they inquire about your goals, reveal your ambition, but not your complete strategy. When they want to understand your personality, show them one facet while keeping others hidden for future conversations. Machiavelli understood that men are so simple and ready to follow present necessities that they will invest more effort in pursuing what seems just out of reach. Apply this to personal revelation. Keep the most interesting parts of yourself slightly out of reach, requiring others to invest time and attention to access them. This does not mean lying or creating false personas. It means being thoughtful about what you share and when you share it. Your life experiences, your dreams, your fears, your accomplishments, these are valuable information that should be earned rather than freely given to everyone who asks casual questions. The person who reveals everything immediately has nothing left to discover. The person who shares selectively maintains intrigue indefinitely. Others will continue investing in the relationship because they sense there are deeper layers to uncover. The fourth tactic focuses on embedding yourself in their identity. The most powerful form of attraction occurs when someone begins to see you not just as a person they enjoy spending time with, but as integral to their identity, their growth, their vision of themselves. This transformation from nice to have to essential represents the shift from casual interest to genuine obsession. Machiavelli observed that the strongest alliances are formed not through affection but through mutual necessity. Apply this principle to personal relationships by making yourself genuinely valuable to others. Success, happiness, or self-improvement. Become someone whose absence would create a noticeable void in their life. This happens through consistent value creation rather than emotional manipulation. Help them see perspectives they had not considered. Introduce them to opportunities they would not have found alone. Support their goals in ways that others cannot or will not. Challenge them to grow in directions they find exciting but intimidating. The key is to become associated with their best version of themselves. When they think about their potential, their achievements, their moments of clarity or breakthrough, your influence should be subtly present. Not as someone who takes credit, but as someone whose presence consistently elevates their experience. Listen for their deeper aspirations, not just what they say they want, but what they truly desire to become. Then position yourself as someone who understands that vision and can help them achieve it. This creates psychological dependency that transcends simple attraction or friendship. But be careful not to create unhealthy dependency or to lose yourself in serving others. Needs. The goal is mutual value creation, where both parties benefit from the relationship. But where your unique contribution makes you irreplaceable rather than just convenient. The fifth tactic involves mastering intermittent reinforcement. The most addictive experiences are those that provide rewards on an unpredictable schedule. Casinos understand this principle. Slot machines are designed to pay out just often enough to keep players engaged, but never so consistently that the experience becomes boring or expected. Apply this psychological principle to your interactions with others. Alternate between warmth and distance, availability and scarcity, engagement and aloofness. Never let others predict exactly how you will respond or what they will receive from interacting with you. Machiavelli noted that the promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. While this refers to political alliances, the underlying principle applies to personal magnetism. Consistency in character, unpredictability in delivery. Sometimes respond to messages immediately and enthusiastically. Other times take longer and be more measured in your response. Sometimes be fully present and engaged in conversations. Other times be polite but distracted. Sometimes offer encouragement and support. Other times challenge their thinking or remain neutral. This variability creates an emotional roller coaster that becomes addictive. People find themselves analyzing your responses, wondering what mood you are in, trying to figure out what will earn your positive attention. Your unpredictability becomes more engaging than someone else's reliability. However, never use this tactic to be cruel or manipulative. The variation should be natural and situation-dependent, not calculated to cause emotional harm. The goal is to be intriguingly unpredictable, not emotionally abusive. The difference lies in maintaining genuine care for the other person while varying your expression of that care. The sixth tactic requires controlling your narrative and legend. Most people allow others to define their reputation, their image, their story. They react to how others perceive them instead of proactively shaping those perceptions. But truly, magnetic people understand that reputation is a strategic asset that must be carefully cultivated and protected. Machiavelli emphasized that it is double pleasure to deceive the deceiver. But more importantly, he understood that perception often matters more than reality. How people see you determines how they treat you, and how they treat you determines what you can accomplish through them. Start by identifying the impression you want to create and then ensure that every interaction reinforces that image. If you want to be seen as mysterious and thoughtful, speak less but make your words more impactful. If you want to be viewed as confident and capable, take on challenges and handle setbacks with grace. Control the stories people tell about you by giving them specific material to work with. Share anecdotes that illustrate your values, your capabilities, your character. Let others discover evidence of your accomplishments rather than broadcasting them directly. Allow your actions to speak louder than your words. Create what marketers call social proof by ensuring that people see others treating you with respect, seeking your advice, valuing your opinion. This influences how they perceive your worth and desirability. People want what others want, and they respect what others respect. But avoid obvious self-promotion or image management. The most effective reputation building appears effortless and natural. Others should feel like they are discovering your impressive qualities rather than being told about them. The seventh and final tactic involves weaponizing strategic silence. In a world where everyone fights for attention through noise, the person who masters strategic silence becomes impossible to ignore. Silence creates space for others to project their thoughts, fears, desires onto you. It makes you a mystery rather than an open book. Machiavelli understood that he who neglects what is done for what ought to be done sooner affects his ruin than his preservation. Most people neglect the power of not speaking because they believe they must constantly prove their worth through words. This is a fundamental mistake. Strategic silence does not mean being antisocial or refusing to communicate. It means choosing your words carefully, speaking only when you have something valuable to add, and allowing others to fill conversational gaps with their own thoughts and assumptions. When others are arguing, remain silent and observe. When conversations turn to gossip or complaints, listen without contributing. when people ask for your opinion on controversial topics. Sometimes decline to share your thoughts. This positions you as someone who thinks before speaking and who cannot be easily categorized or predicted. Silence also creates psychological pressure that others feel compelled to fill. When you do not immediately respond to questions, others often continue talking and reveal more than they intended. These 7 tactics work because they align with fundamental aspects of human psychology that have remained constant for thousands of years. Understanding why these methods are effective helps you apply them more skillfully and ethically. The human brain is wired to pay attention to novelty, unpredictability, and scarcity because these factors indicated potential opportunities or threats in our ancestral environment. Someone who is always available registers as safe but unimportant in our unconscious assessment system. Someone who is selectively available triggers our "this might be valuable" and limited response. Machiavelli observed these patterns in political contexts, noting that men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that he who deceives will always find someone who allows himself to be deceived. But the deeper insight is that people deceive themselves by attributing greater value to what requires effort to obtain. The psychological principle of cognitive dissonance explains why intermittent reinforcement creates addiction. When someone invests effort to gain your attention and receives inconsistent rewards, their mind justifies the effort by deciding you must be especially valuable. They convince themselves that your approval is worth pursuing because the alternative, admitting they wasted their effort, is psychologically uncomfortable. Social psychology research confirms that people become more attached to those whose approval they have to earn rather than those who approve of them automatically. This is why strategic scarcity and selective validation create stronger emotional bonds than constant availability and unconditional acceptance. But these psychological mechanisms can be used constructively or destructively. The difference lies in whether you use them to create mutual value and genuine connection, or to manipulate others for selfish gain at their expense. Power creates responsibility, and the ability to influence others psychologically comes with ethical obligations that cannot be ignored. Machiavelli may have advised that the ends justify the means, but he was writing about survival in brutal political contexts, not about personal relationships in modern society. The ethical application of these tactics requires several boundaries. First, never use them to exploit people's vulnerabilities for financial gain, emotional harm, or sexual manipulation. The goal should be mutual attraction and value creation, not one-sided exploitation. Second, maintain authenticity within your strategic presentation. Being selective about what you reveal is different from creating false personas or lying about your character, values, or intentions. The mystery should come from depth and complexity, not from deception. Third, respect others, autonomy, and ability to make informed decisions. Creating intrigue is acceptable. Creating dependency that prevents someone from making healthy choices for themselves crosses ethical lines. The goal is to be attractively challenging, not emotionally manipulative. Fourth, use these tactics to attract people who are genuinely compatible with your authentic self, not to trick incompatible people into relationships that will ultimately fail. Strategic presentation should enhance natural compatibility, not create artificial attraction that cannot be sustained. Remember that Machiavelli also emphasized the importance of being loved as well as feared. In personal relationships, this translates to being genuinely valuable and caring toward others, while maintaining the psychological dynamics that create attraction and respect. Successfully implementing these tactics will change how others perceive and treat you, but it will also change how you see yourself and how you navigate relationships. Understanding these long-term effects helps you prepare for both the benefits and the challenges of increased personal magnetism. On the positive side, you will attract higher quality relationships with people who appreciate depth, complexity, and challenge. You will waste less time on superficial connections and invest more energy in relationships that provide mutual growth and value. You will develop confidence that comes from knowing you can influence outcomes rather than being subject to others. whims. You will also become more selective about how you spend your time and attention, which leads to better boundaries and more fulfilling activities. People will seek your opinion, want to include you in opportunities, and treat you as someone whose presence adds value to their experiences. But there are also challenges and potential downsides. As you become more magnetic, you may attract people who are drawn to your mystique, but not compatible with your authentic self. You will need to become skilled at distinguishing between genuine interest and superficial attraction to your persona. You may also find that maintaining strategic mystery requires ongoing effort and awareness. It can be tempting to either drop the tactics and become too available, or to increase them until you become manipulative rather than magnetic. Mastering these 7 tactics requires systematic practice and gradual implementation rather than dramatic behavioral changes that feel forced or artificial. Start by choosing 1 or 2 tactics that feel most natural to your current personality and situation, then expand your skill set over time. For strategic absence, begin by adding small delays to your responses and exits. If you normally respond to text messages within minutes, wait an hour or 2 before replying. If you usually stay until events end, leave while the energy is still high. Notice how these small changes affect others' behavior towards you. Begin implementing these strategies through concrete daily practices that build your magnetic presence systematically. Add intentional delays to your responses, waiting at least 30 minutes before replying to non-urgent messages, and observe how this unpredictability influences interactions. You'll notice people become more engaged when they finally hear from you, more attentive to your words, more appreciative of your time. Master the art of exiting conversations while they remain engaging by politely excusing yourself with phrases like, "I need to handle something, but I've genuinely enjoyed our discussion. Let's continue this soon." Then follow through on reconnecting later, but on your terms and timeline. Develop your selective sharing approach by creating different levels of personal information disclosure based on relationship depth and investment. Share surface-level details freely, your general interests, basic background information, current activities. Require some relationship investment before revealing intermediate details, your deeper motivations, past experiences that shaped you, your more personal opinions on complex topics. Reserve your deepest insights, your fears, your most ambitious dreams, your vulnerabilities, only for close connections who have proven their trustworthiness and genuine interest in your well-being. Practice staying within appropriate levels for each relationship you maintain. This prevents you from oversharing with new acquaintances while ensuring you continue building intimacy with those who have earned deeper access to your inner world. Employ strategic questioning techniques by occasionally deflecting direct personal inquiries with questions about others, experiences, and perspectives. This keeps conversations focused on them while maintaining an air of mystery around yourself, making you seem like an excellent listener while protecting your private information. In group conversations, practice speaking less and observing more, allowing you to gather subtle insights as others reveal their true selves. When others engage in debates or gossip, remain neutral and listen attentively. This positions you as the thoughtful observer, the one who processes before reacting, the person others turn to for balanced perspective, precisely because you don't immediately jump into every discussion. Adapt these practices strategically across various contexts for maximum effectiveness. In professional environments, intentionally limit your availability and contributions to enhance your perceived value and create demand for your expertise. Don't be the person who responds to every email immediately or volunteers for every project. Instead, be selective about where you invest your energy, ensuring that when you do contribute, it's substantial and memorable. At social events, enter discussions confidently yet exit before conversations become exhausted, preserving your enigmatic allure and leaving others wanting more interaction with you. This prevents you from overstaying your welcome or becoming associated with declining energy in social situations. In romantic contexts, balance presence and independence to foster genuine profound attraction based on compatibility rather than dependency. Maintain your individual interests, goals, and social connections while building shared experiences that create unique bonds. In familial and long-term relationships, maintain mutual respect through continual personal growth and clear boundaries. These established relationships can easily slide into taking each other for granted, so applying these principles helps maintain appreciation and continued interest even in long-standing connections. Be vigilant against common missteps that can undermine your efforts. Avoid inconsistency, which breeds confusion and undermines the intrigue you're trying to create. Your variations should feel natural and situational, not random or manipulative. Don't use these strategies as tools for emotional avoidance. Instead, apply them to deepen authentic connections over time. The goal is enhanced intimacy, not distance. Resist the urge to deploy all tactics simultaneously, which can make you appear calculating or artificial. Focus on mastering one or two approaches that feel natural to your personality before gradually adding others. People can sense when behavior feels forced or inauthentic, which destroys the magnetic effect you're trying to create. Remember that mystery without substance becomes boring quickly. Ensure that when you are present and available, you offer genuine insight, support, or entertainment that makes others glad they invested in the relationship. Your selective availability must be balanced with real value when you do choose to engage fully. Recognize that not all relationships warrant or benefit from psychological complexity. Some connections thrive on straightforward, consistent communication rather than strategic influence. Learn to identify when simple availability and transparency serve relationships better than magnetic tactics. Family relationships, close friendships, and work partnerships often require different approaches than newer social connections or romantic pursuits. Create a personalized system for implementing these tactics based on your natural personality, relationship goals, and life circumstances. Some people are naturally mysterious and will focus on selective revelation and strategic silence. Others are naturally more social and will emphasize strategic absence and intermittent reinforcement. Work with your existing strengths rather than fighting against your natural inclinations. Develop feedback mechanisms to assess your approach's effectiveness. Pay attention to how people respond to your communication style, how much effort they invest in maintaining relationships with you, how they describe you to others, and whether the quality of your relationships improves over time. Adjust your tactics based on the real results you observe rather than theoretical ideals. Build your personal magnetism system by becoming genuinely valuable to others while maintaining enough mystery and challenge to keep relationships interesting and evolving. The ultimate goal is not to manipulate people into obsessing over you, but to attract people who appreciate depth, complexity, and mutual growth. You want to draw in individuals who are stimulated by challenge rather than those who prefer simple, predictable interactions. As Machiavelli understood, the most sustainable power comes not from forcing others to submit to your will, but from making them want to align with your vision and values. In personal relationships, this translates to becoming someone others genuinely want to know better, spend time with and include in their important decisions and experiences because you consistently add value to their lives while maintaining your own interesting complexity. Mastering these 7 dark tactics will fundamentally transform how you navigate the world and how others respond to you. You will shift from chasing attention to naturally attracting it, from feeling the need to explain yourself to effortlessly intriguing others, from being predictable to becoming magnetic. The truly irresistible person isn't someone whom others relentlessly pursue, but someone who inspires others to become their best selves simply by being near them. When you master this level of influence, you achieve far more than mere attraction. You become a catalyst for positive transformation in others' lives. This is the deepest essence of magnetic power, not the ability to control others, but the ability to inspire them to reach their highest potential while maintaining an aura of mystery and challenge that keeps life irresistibly engaging. Transformation waits for no perfect moment or external permission. It begins the instant you decide to break free from your past. The change starts now, in this very moment. The choice is yours. You can cling to familiar patterns that have kept you confined, or you can embrace the creative discomfort of rising above the average. Remember, no one will make this decision for you. Do not wait for another sign or permission. The power to transform is already in your hands. The journey to becoming irresistible starts here. Choose wisely. Your future depends on it.